Hey everybody, my name's Carrie. It's been a long time since I last saw you, and I thought I would jump on here and just try and get back into the swing of things. Today is January 2nd, 2020. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. It's been since towards the end of October since I last recorded, so we've had Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate. And I hope it all went really well for you. I had decided not to record during that time because a lot of my makes were for gifts for the holidays. So I couldn't show anything, and I just wanted to be able to kind of concentrate on what I was doing. And so that's what I did. I had a wonderful Christmas. We went to the coast with Robert and Michael and Jim, and it was really nice. We had really good weather. I got a cold as soon as I was on break. So that happened to me last year. Last year I got more like the flu. This time I just got a cold. So it's been a couple of weeks since I started my cold. I am done with it, but I still have kind of a froggy voice. So you can at least hear me. So that's a good thing. So I apologize if I have to clear my throat or anything like that, but that's just the lingering effects of this stupid cold. So I'm hoping that this doesn't become a holiday tradition because that sucks. For one, it sucks to be sick over Christmas, and it sucks to be sick on your vacation. So whatever. I'm doing okay now. Like I said, my voice is just still kind of trying to come back. So of course, as always, it's awkward when you take a break from things, and so I'm going to try and just kind of get into the swing of things. So I unfortunately don't have a lot of the things I've been making because it has been given as gifts. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen most of it, I think, and if you were lucky enough to be one of the recipients, you've already gotten your gift. So I will hopefully pop in some pictures and kind of talk about it. Excuse me. So I guess I'll just start with some of the makes I did for Christmas. So I decided to make, using the hedgehog block pattern from my Fancy Forest Friends quilt that I've shown on here before. It's the quilt I made that has all the different animals sort of in rainbow colors. I decided to take the hedgehog block and make like potholder trivets, something like that with them. It was a good size, and it's like, who doesn't love a hedgehog? So I made a bunch of them, and I've gifted them, but I have a reject. So the reject is for me. So I was going along and I'm making them, and I got done with a couple of them, and I thought, this doesn't look right. I did something out of order. Well, when you do things out of order, your hedgehog looks like he has a headband. So this feels like Olivia Newton-John, like Let's Get Physical video with a little headband. So I'm going to keep it for myself, but I couldn't give it as a gift. But I made hedgehogs like this, various different colors. I put a binding on it, just a black binding to frame it. And to do anything that's going to be used with heat, what you do is, I'm going to try not to make this be super crinkly, but you use Insulbrite. And Insulbrite is a batting, but in between the layers of batting, and I don't know if that's going to show up, but there's like a layer of foil. And so that helps reflect heat away. So I did a layer of the Insulbrite and a layer of 100% cotton batting. So I had double layer of batting. And like I said, I made several of them, and I lined them up, made backings that I could connect together and loaded on my long arm. And then I did a pantograph that I kind of thought looked really well with the hedgehogs. It's going to be the pantograph I'm going to use on the quilt, the Fancy Forest quilt that I made, Fancy Forest Friends, whatever it is. I can't even remember the name of it. But when I go to quilt the quilt, which I still have to make the backing for, this is the pantograph I'm going to use. And I kind of upcycled some fabric that I used for the back. I had bought several different yardages of fabric to make skirts a couple years ago, and I thought because I don't wear shorts in the summer. I just don't care for it. And I thought, oh, I'll wear skirts. Well, then I didn't end up ever really wearing them because I just didn't feel like they looked very flattering, but it was good quality fabric. So I just cut those apart and used the fabric from the skirts because I only wore like one. So that was really new fabric, and I cut it up to be able to use it for the back. So that was super handy to be able to do that. So those were really cute. I made those for my co-workers and a couple of other people that I gave them to, just because I think they're kind of cute. So you can use it as a trivet, a mug rug, whatever, but they're heat resistant, so kind of use them for whatever. Another thing that I made is not everybody, but my closer friends, I did some bookbinding and made little notebooks. So I got paper that has a dot graph in it, and I made some books. I originally was trying this style of book, that style of binding. It was a chain binding, but you had to poke through all the layers of fabric, all the layers of paper all at once, and it was just super time consuming and difficult, and then I couldn't get the book to lay flat. I think I may have put too many pieces of paper in it. So I tried to do that. I did make a couple of them, and I'll just use them for myself, and ended up going with this style, which is a Coptic binding. And so that was a lot of fun. And I just kind of sat up here, and in the evenings, Jim's like, okay, I've got the dog and you go do your thing. And I got that done. So it took a while because they're time consuming to make. But something I asked for Christmas that I got that I haven't had a chance to use yet is a bookbinding kit guide. It's like you put the paper in here, and then you can line up all your paper the same, and you just poke your holes to do your to sew it together, or you have to poke holes through everything, and that way you're not having to like measure it out, mark it, poke holes, and then go on and on. You just stick the paper on here, and the holes are there for you to select, kind of like how far apart you want them. And I saw this on the YouTube channel for Sea Lemon, which is who I followed to learn how to do the bookbinding. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing it. This is scrapbook paper that I glued onto, I think it's called chipboard. Not sure if that's what it's called. Of course, because my husband's in the printing industry, he had access to this chipboard stuff. So that was really nice. But I got some packs of scrapbook paper, so I had different covers and stuff to make. So this kind of a binding is nice because the pages lay flat. They just lay flat, so you can kind of sketch and whatever. So I will use these notebooks for myself because why not? So that was another thing that I did. That took a long time. That was very time consuming. They're very slow to make. I like the process of it, but to make several of them, I really wanted to make some for my internet friends, and I had this whole list of books I was going to make for Christmas, and it was just taking too long, and I couldn't get that done. So some of you may end up with a little book just because I want to. So that was fun. Another thing I did is I made tote bags for Michelle, Leslie, and Lori. And Michelle and Leslie are of the Naughty Knitwits, and Lori is my friend as well. And so I took the face pattern from my Lola pattern that's hanging up back there. From that quilt, I took the face pattern of that and designed it to make a bag, and put it together and then quilted, and they're all quilted a little bit differently. The face is the same because you only can make it one way, but I quilted them each a little bit differently, and that was a lot of fun to work on. That was really fun to work on and kind of customize it for each one of them. So they each got those, which was cool. And no, I can't make those I can make them as gifts, but I cannot sell anything that is made with those patterns because the designer of the pattern has that on the pattern itself, that you can't sell anything made from those patterns. So I'm not, and that they're time consuming, so I don't think I could charge nearly enough to actually sell them, but it was fun to make them as just a special thing for them. So those were most of my Christmas makes. It's all pretty time consuming. I did really well though, because a lot of times I don't even have the idea until maybe the 1st of December, second week of December. Then it's like, oh, I know, I'll make a bunch of whatevers. But this time I actually had ideas pretty early on, and I'm glad I did, because I made, that was a lot of stuff that I made. And I ended up making like 9 or 10 of the hedgehogs, and then I had to quilt them and bind them and all that stuff. And I made several books and then the 3 tote bags. So that was a lot. So I didn't really work on too much else for myself. In the evenings, it was just some simple knitting. And I picked up my crochet blanket because I really want to get that done, because I'm itching to start another blanket, and I'm not going to let myself make anything more until I start finishing some of the stuff. So did that. I did have some fun cast-ons though, which I'll share in a little bit. So I need to take a drink. So something else I did over the break, or since I last saw you, is I did ply up some of the yarn that I spun on my little EE Nano. My electric eel Nano is a mini, well, it's a nano size spinning wheel that I got in the summertime, like midsummer. And I don't get a chance to spin on it very often, especially over the holidays when I was making all the other stuff. But I did manage to ply a little. So it's not a lot, but I did ply. I just did a regular 2-ply spin. I don't know what you call it. It's not a chain ply. It's just a ply. And it's 32 grams and 138 yards, which probably makes it kind of sport DK. I don't know that I'm going to make anything with it. I kind of thought I would just keep it and hopefully improve my spinning. I have to practice some more, because now I feel like I'm out of practice since I haven't touched it in a while. And then hopefully someday look back and go, gosh, that's where I was, and now look where I am. That's kind of my goal. But I loved it. This was 100% merino and it was dyed by Nanette of Nanette Wakes Studio. So I still have some that is spun as singles that I need to ply up. And so I'll get that plied, because I have other fleece that I want to spin, and I do enjoy sitting and spinning, but I just haven't done it in a while. But I was pretty proud of the fact that I actually made yarn. So like I said, I don't know what I'll do with it. I have to get the other stuff spun up. This is I probably could have fit a little bit more on the spool maybe, but it was pretty full. So I'm only going to get like 40 grams on a spool, which is why I need a bigger spinning wheel, because that's not very much. Can't do anything with that. So, but it's okay. It's for the fun of making it. So another thing I kind of am dabbling with a little bit is working with my punch embroidery needle. So the punch embroidery needle is this, and I'm using embroidery floss, and you thread it through. You've got this little pointy needle, and you use a hoop, and you just poke it through, and it makes loops. So I think it was over my birthday, Leslie gave me this kit to make this embroidered llama scene, whatever. And I right away I opened it up and I was going to do it, but and it's printed on the fabric. And so as you can see, I started it, and I'll talk to you about what that was. But it has this llama cut out of like a fleece. But for one, you can't see him against the white. He completely disappears. For two, it's not the right size. It doesn't fit. It doesn't line up for where the feet are supposed to go. So if you can see here, his legs are too short. And I thought, okay, I'll just find some fleece and I'll cut another llama. Well, then I had the idea, what if because I wanted to kind of practice some more with my punch needle. So I thought, what if I just do punch needle embroidery, and I won't do the fancy stitches, I'll just embroider the colors or whatever. And then I'll use a color that'll show up against white. I haven't decided on what it is yet. I might just make like a brown llama or something, or a golden colored llama, because they do come in different colors. And So I started, and I looked online to just kind of refresh my memory on how this even worked. And I was seeing a lot of embroidery that you typically, with this, you have the loop side is the front side. But I really liked the designs that I saw where you kind of use the back side as the front side, if that makes any sense. Because what you're doing is you're punching technically the back side, which would be this side. And then the front is supposed to be loopy. But I feel like the loopy kind of looks messy. It just wasn't my, it's not my taste right now. So I'm just doing it as just embroidery stitches. So I'm using the colors, to kind of follow along with the picture, using the same colors, but I'm just doing the embroidery with this. And then when I go to do the llama, I'll do it from the opposite side so that the loops are in the front. So everything will have kind of more of a flat texture, and then the llama will be all the different loops. And so I think that'll be really good. So what I did is I took the my little fleecy llama here, and I traced it on a piece of paper so that I could go behind the fabric and trace it onto the fabric, because you have to have lines to follow. Well, I guess if you just did something abstract, you don't have lines to follow. But to make it look like a llama, I traced them on the back. So I started working on that yesterday or the day before, or whatever. It was like Jim was home and he goes, okay, you just go upstairs and you just have at it. So I had cleaned up everything. This became like Christmas Central. My craft table was where we wrapped gifts. I had been sewing and making things. And so it was like, okay, get all the Christmas stuff put away and get back to having it be just my crafty space. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how it'll turn out. I think it's a good idea, but sometimes the ideas don't pan out, but so far it's working. So we'll see. I have to decide on what color llama I want to make him be, because white's not going to work. I did do, let me put that back. My chair is super squeaky. I did, over the time since I've last seen you, I did do my first paint night. And so paint night, if you haven't done one, is you pay like a fee or whatever, and you go to a place and they have all the paints and easels, and you all just kind of sit in there, and then someone instructs you, we're going to make this picture, and they kind of walk you through the process of it. Get some blue, kind of do this on the paint, and blah, blah, blah. So I did it with my friend. I had a ton of fun. The facility didn't have the greatest lighting. It was really dull lighting in there. So unfortunately, we had to deal with that, but it was still fun. And when I saw this online, it's like, you can make this picture, I knew I had to do it. And my friend has a love of these animals, and it's the West Highland cows that are kind of hairy and fuzzy. And I loved the fact that it was painterly. So this is my painting. Like I said, you follow along, and they say, to get some of this and use this brush and make these strokes. And it's still very much your own painting. And of course, my friend's turned out gorgeous because she knows how to paint. So my nose had turned out kind of weird because I followed what the lady said, and my friend Janet, she didn't follow and did it because she knew how to do it herself, and I liked hers much better. So I tried fixing it, it has helped it. I don't know that it's ever going to look like exactly perfect, and there's no really perfect way when you're doing a painterly type of painting anyway. I do love it. It's considered finished now, and it is now hanging up in here, which makes me super happy. So that was fun. I would love to do that again. It's just a matter of getting the right picture, that they're going to paint. So, excuse me, that was a lot of fun to do. So then once my Christmas makes were kind of like, okay, everything's sort of made. I think I'm good. Just need to wrap and, get together with whoever I'm getting together with and do all that kind of stuff. I decided on what I'm going to cast on as a new cast on. I had most of my bigger projects were done. I know I still have some whips in bags I need to finish, and like some things don't really need a whole lot of work, and just need to pick them up. But sometimes you just need to start something new. So Michelle generously gives me, or has in the past, and this year as well, a Yarny advent calendar that she makes up herself. And so this year, and last year I made a cowl with my yarn that I got from her. And so this year I kind of wanted to do something else. And so I looked on Ravelry and spent, numbing hours just kind of cruising through and just seeing what you could make with advents or minis or something. So I found the zigzag scarf, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I thought, I will wear my scarves like that. You wear it basically like a cowl. So I started making that, and I was going to try and just stay up with, I open day 1 and day 2, and I'll knit with those, and then I just couldn't keep up with it. And so when I started, I was just doing the colors that came up, which were really pretty. And then these colors started coming up, and I thought, I need to mix it up a bit. So instead of doing these blocks of colors, this was like day 1 and 2, day 3 and 4. And then it was like, no, I need to just throw in random colors. So now I'm mixing it up a little bit more. So I have all my minis together. She was so generous. They're all 10-gram minis from her Row 1 subscription. And so it's different dyers and stuff like that. But I really, really am liking the way this is turning out. This is a real simple, mindless knit. I do have stitch markers so that I can make it even more mindless and not have to count. And so it's just knit 2 togethers and knit front and back is all you're doing, and just knitting. It's a garter, so it's just knitting. You don't even purl. But so it will end up being a little more variegated like this as I go along. Now and I should have waited, but I kind of wanted to start something when I was first opening it. And then when I started to see all the colors, and all the colors are perfect for me, but I decided I need to kind of mix it up and just sort of play with the different combinations of colors. So I was working on that pretty regularly as I started, and then it's like now it's just my project I'll pick up when I just need something quick to knit on. But I don't really have to look at directions. I don't have to look at directions. I mean, it's super easy. And then it was really wanted to make something. I showed on Instagram. I don't think I talked about it here. This is from Hobby Yarns. It's Hobbii. It comes out of Denmark, and it's cotton. And it's this beautiful gradient. It's 1,094 yards, I believe. It's 1,000 meters, which I think comes to 1,094 yards in one cake. I bought 2 because it was on like Black Friday sale. And so the 2 of them together cost me like $15 or something. And it's very reasonable to ship. It's like $7 to ship it or something. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to make with this? I have enough. I could make a sweater with it. But the variegated, or not variegated, but the ombre effect makes it a little more complicated. I could make a body of a sweater, but then when you go to pick up the sleeves, it's like, then that color is going to be weird or something. So I decided not to make a sweater with this one, but I did find a pattern. So I thought I'll crochet with it. It would be really pretty to have this like kind of lacy top crochet something out of cotton for summer. And I just couldn't find anything that I liked the style of and that I thought I could do because I'm a super beginner crocheter. I did find this wrap, and I tried to start it. What is it called? It's called Side Waves. And I did purchase the pattern because I thought it was really pretty. It was just a wrap, just a rectangular wrap. And I thought, okay, I could wear that. And I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. So I'm going to wait. I might make this another time because it would be really pretty. But I realized that I just don't have the crochet skills quite yet to be able to tackle something like that. So I decided to knit. So then I'm like, okay, knitting I know. So let's see if I knit something. Then it was on the search of, now what do I knit? Because I've got like 2,000 yards of this stuff. So I'm not going to use all 2,000 yards. I found something that uses 1 cake, and it was something I had in my favorites on Ravelry for quite some time, and it's the Boho Blush by Andrea Mowry. Calls for fingering weight yarn, which this is what this is. And I thought it has that fringe, and so it's going to go from blue to black, or it's actually like a super dark navy, almost black. And so I think if the dark fringe on the bottom, it could look really cool. And I thought I've got enough that even if I use the yardage for the shawl, and then I need to dip into the second cake to do the tassels or the fringe, I can at least do that. So that's what I've been working on. And it's, it takes a while because it's fingering weight, but I've gotten pretty far. So you can see where the color, let me see if I can hold it. You can see where the color shifts. It happened to shift here right when I changed different stitches. So you do your just garter tab, you get into some brioche, garter, some lace, garter, and now I'm back to doing some brioche. And it's just slowly fading colors. So what it does is, I don't know if you can see. Can you see how it's got the different colors in the yarn? Oops, is that even showing up? I'm so lousy at this. It started off with it all the light blue, and then pretty soon it's made up of, I don't know how many strands, 4, I think it's a 4-ply. So one of the strands drops off and a dark strand gets added on. It's a tiny little knot that just gets disappeared into your knitting. And then, so now all of a sudden you have one strand of the 4 is a darker color. And then pretty soon it's 2 strands and 3 strands. So right now I'm at 3 strands of the darker color, then it'll go to all the darker color, and then it'll start getting into the darker blue, the more the like navy color. You can kind of see how it is in the cake. So I think it's going to be really pretty, and it's cotton, so I'm actually more likely to wear it because it won't be as warm as wool, because I have a tendency to not wear my knitwear because it's too warm. So that's it. I've got a long ways to go, clearly. This is going to take a while, but that's okay. I'm still enjoying it. I just have to, I have to kind of concentrate on it a little bit. Like now I'm in a brioche section, so I can do that. I just have to keep track of how many rows I'm doing. The lace, I definitely have to be where I have my directions. So depending on where I am, depends on what I work on. I was lucky enough because I had days off to be able to join Michelle and Lori and Gail and Janine and Pam, and those guys have all been getting together, meeting once a week at a coffee shop and knitting, and I haven't been able to go because I work. So the fact that I have days off, I was able to go, and they're all so great, and it's such a great group together that I felt very privileged and lucky to be able to go. So I worked on my zigzag scarf when I was there because that was an easy, like, I don't have to think about it kind of thing. But you guys are awesome, and I felt really good to be able to go. So that's probably really all I have as far as the creative stuff I've been doing. So now it's the beginning of the year, and I'm trying to detox from all the sugar and crap that I ate over break, and so that's going to take a little while. Starting to make plans for camping for the next year, and so kind of working on that stuff and just doing our thing. Violet graduated from her beginning obedience class, which I knew she would. I had to take the beginning one in order to take the other classes that are offered. And it was so cute because she just wants to play with everybody all the time. And so you can't do that when you're in class because it's just that's not what the class is for. You don't play with the other dogs. So it was our last class, and I'm like, I just, it's like kind of, you don't get tested necessarily, but the instructor said, if your dog knows any tricks, we'll kind of have a play day and you can show tricks and stuff. So, she knows her tricks. And we went in, and he had set up agility course stuff, equipment. And so we didn't really work on anything in class other than like taking turns to kind of go through the different equipment. And then while other dogs were using it, you practiced your sit and stay and whatever. She loved it. We had a ball with it. She just had so much fun, and she was like, it's like when you want your kid to really behave in those important moments, that's exactly what she did. She behaved really well. And I think she just really liked the fact that the class was so interactive instead of waiting for instruction and stuff like that. And so then it came to doing tricks, and I thought, okay, I don't know if she'll do them in this distracted environment. She does them at home because I've got treats and so all that stuff. So everybody kind of did their tricks, and okay, we'll do ours. We'll see what she'll do. And she did her whole like repertoire, and then everybody voted on who got who won or whatever, and she won by a landslide because for one, she's stinking cute, and so you have a cute little fluffer nugget that's doing tricks. It's like hard to resist. But, you know, some people's tricks were that your dog could shake or whatever. She's like rolling over and, you know, practically speaking foreign languages. So it was a lot of fun. So we start our intermediate class next week. So we'll see where that takes us. And then I want to kind of keep going with that because it's good for her. She needs the mental stimulation because she's a smarty McFarty. So that's all that's happening. You know, it's January, and this is kind of we say it's a long month, and Leslie talked about this on their podcast. Like, it seems like such a long month. It's only a day longer than some of the other months, but for some reason it just seems to drag on. And I think part of it's because you don't have any breaks. Part of it's because it's dark and dreary and cold, and you can't really do anything. So we're in for a long month, and just trying to make the best of it as best I can. So I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful break, holiday season, whatever it is, and that your January is looking up and the new decade is looking positive for you. So until I can get back with you again, stay well, stay happy, keep crafting, and I will talk to you later.